Hey, everybody. I'm Tim Lockey, and I'm joined here today by Josh Hirsch. I'm the CEO of the Human Stack, your designated liver, and I've got a course called AI for Anyone. And Josh Hirsch, the AI dude, introduce yourself, Josh.
Hey everyone. I have to say that anything new in the world of AI, Tim is probably one of the first people's DMs I slide into. I'm the founder of the AI Dude. I'm also education and training strategist for the Fundraise Up, and I'm an all-around social media digital communications nerd with the 12 days of OpenAI. And if you haven't been following what Sam and his team have been doing, they've been giving us these little presents each day. And this week has been pretty big, Tim. I mean, Monday we
Oh
had
my
Sora.
gosh.
And that's the funny thing is I predicted Sora last Thursday. I was teaching a course at
Nice.
university, and I said to him, like, with what's coming up, I bet you we're either going to get Sora on Monday or we're going to get it the very last day. I was right. We got it on Monday. I personally did not subscribe to the $200 a month ChatGPT Pro. Can't bring myself to that. I think that it's going to be incredibly powerful and very valuable. Right now, I just can't do that.
Do you
But
follow Nate Jones, by the way?
I don't know.
Nate B. Jones on YouTube. Oh my gosh, this guy he's got like a 3-minute, he's a product manager, and his breakdown of that $200 price point is brilliant. And
Okay.
basically the subtext is, unless you're in deep research, like nothing we do is gonna like touch it, right? Like,
Yeah.
so anyway, yeah, keep going.
So
Sorry.
we had that gift, but the one like they featured a lot of stuff on that May 22nd call where we learned about memory, which was a great new feature. We started hearing more and more about voice mode, but the one that like really got me was vision mode. And yesterday we got it. 4 months later, 5 months later, and in the less than 12 hours that I've been playing with it, it's just like
It is wild. It is wild. And I'm glad that you watch me for the new stuff. Right back at you, because like when I hit LinkedIn this morning, your message was just like, all I said is vision. And I was like, oh man, I got to go check it out. And then I couldn't figure it out because it's not on the desktop. It's just on your phone, right? So first of all, don't be like me going to look on your desktop and trying to figure it out. Secondly, it turns on when you've got voice, like when you do advanced voice mode, then it shows a camera now. And that camera now it can see. It's wild.
So going back to what you said about the desktop, originally voice mode was just on the mobile app, and then they rolled it out to the desktop, which was a nice feature.
It is on desktop. Okay.
Yes. So voice is on desktop, but vision is not as of now.
Yep.
We may see vision eventually come out there. Keep in mind, if you haven't updated your ChatGPT app recently, you should do that in order to, get access to this. But I just did one simple test this morning. I literally took out a bottle of coffee creamer from the fridge. I held my camera, forward-facing camera out from it, and I said, what can you tell me about the nutritional value of this creamer? Boom. The serving size is 1 tablespoon, and it's 15 calories. And make sure that you don't use too much because you don't want your coffee to be too sweet. And keep in mind that you also want to be healthy. So I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah. And then I did another test where I literally, and this is what I sent to you, Tim, sitting here in my office. I held it with rear facing so I could actually see what I'm looking at. And I said, who am I? What's happening? He said, well, you're Josh. And, it looks like you have a groomed beard, which I probably could trim it a little more. And it says,
no, it's well groomed. Yeah.
I think it's okay. Right. You're wearing a dark shirt and it appears that you're in some sort of home office setting with, behind you in the corner. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, and then I started, as with anything in generative AI, my mind is already racing a mile a minute. So I immediately start thinking of accessibility. I think about giving vision to those that don't have it. So from a accessibility standpoint, you now could be, vision impaired or completely blind and have the ability for it to see for you. Like truly have the chance for you to have your eyes open where you could never have seen before. And to me, that's just beyond wild.
Yeah, that is so crazy. And I'm sorry, I've got dogs barking in the background. So if you start hearing them, let me know. All right. As soon as I turned it on, same thing. I was like, okay, what can I do? Right. So here's the few things I had to do. It was like an 8-minute chat. And first of all, the chat has tightened up. there used to be a delay, right? Like you would wait, and it was not like a normal conversation. It was like having a conversation with someone that is struggling with English, right? And what I noticed immediately is that lag is very decreased to almost not noticeable, right? So you can really have a dialogue conversation, and you can interrupt, and um, it actually stops talking when you interrupt it, which it didn't used to do. All right, so that was the first thing you noticed. Second thing I noticed is you can use both sides of the camera. You can choose between front or back camera. I had pointed at my desk, had it find my Stream Deck. It told me what the Stream Deck could do, described it really well. Then, okay, this light back here is attached to this weird little pack. I don't know anything about electricity, but it's an LED attached to this little thing. And I want to hook that up to my Hue like light center, right? So I just showed it that, asked it, and it was immediately identifying the right products for me to, it was like reading the specs, telling me all about the wiring pattern, like just, and I was like, I don't think Hue actually has that product. And they're like, yeah, it doesn't, but Zigbee does. So you can just grab a Zigbee instead. They're about $30. So like, cool. Then I pointed at my dog, right? And I was like, what's this? It was like, that's a Yorkshire Terrier. And I was like, no, it's not, sucker. That's an Australian Terrier. And it was like, oh, yeah. And then we had another dog, because my wife does Rover, and it knew it was like a Border Terrier. And it was like, and I was like, hey, it looks a little bit like a dingo, doesn't it? Like, yeah, because it's got a flat face and it's tan the same way, but they're really spunky. You've got a great personality, like just wild, wild stuff.
What if you
Wild.
were doing a Lego set and you
Oh my
pointed it at the
gosh.
Lego set and said, "Hey, help me put this together"? Like,
Do I have a
are,
Lego
are
set?
I mean, I've got.
I'll be right back. I do. And this is kind of cool.
All right,
Hold
now
on.
you're gonna test it out. See, and that's what is so great about generative AI. Literally, we're sitting here on the call, and that idea just popped into me and said, "I've got an opportunity for solution. You know, there's no problems, but I want to sit here and put together a Lego set. I love Lego. I'm an AFOL, an adult fan of Lego. And what if, like, wow,
That is such a great idea.
yes, or you know, and you could sit there and have it like pointed at a Sudoku and say,
Right.
"Help me solve the Sudoku." Like,
Okay. So I went to a conference a couple of years, a developer conference, and they gave Legos out for each sponsor.
okay,
So I've got this like mass of just bricks, right? So let's try it out. I'm really curious how
what can I build
that
with
goes.
this? Oh my god!
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it's not anything cool. Like it's not a prepackaged set or something like that. Okay, so let's try it out. Hey, I've got some Legos and I want you to show me what I can build with it.
Absolutely. What kind of Lego project are you thinking about? Something simple or maybe a bit more complex?
I don't know. That's what I want you to tell me. I don't know what I can even build. Here is the Legos that I've got. I'll show you kind of all the sides of it, okay? Got it?
Sure. Yes, I see those pieces. You could try building a small structure or even a miniature robot with those bricks. What do you think?
Well, how many bricks are there?
From what I can see, it looks like you have about 8 pieces. Does that sound right?
No, not even close. I've got way more than 8 pieces. Look at that.
My mistake. That's a lot more pieces. With all those, you could definitely build something bigger. Maybe a small house or a tower.
Could I live in the small house?
A Lego house might be a bit cramped, but it could definitely be a fun project. Want to give it a try?
Not right now, but hey, can you see my screen? Can you see my friend Josh there?
I'm unable to see your screen or your friend Josh, but I'm sure he's enjoying the Lego chat.
Yeah, I think he is.
I wonder, Tim, if you know, because once again, we're just experimenting with vision. We've had this less than 24 hours. I wonder if you're not able to switch from front forward to rear facing camera.
It's not that. No, I did that in the same. Well, I didn't switch it. I just moved my camera around. So
Okay.
it was literally just seeing what it was seeing
Oh.
before. And so the second thing I'm wondering is if it doesn't allow it to read screens, computer screens. And so I did try and have it read something, and it was like, I can't read any of the text on your screen. And I was like, but it said, it looks like you're talking on chat right now or Slack right now. So I was like, well, how did you know it was Slack? And it said from the user interface. So I
All right,
think that there's
I'm
a
gonna try
block that it's
testing
got.
this. Let's now I got to test it. So I got my phone open here, and I'm going to do the forward facing so I can see, make sure what we have right. Right. So I'm going to turn on video. Can you read this first comment and tell me who it's from?
The first comment is from Tim Lockie.
And what does it say in the comment?
Tim Lockie's comment says, I transform the tech culture of nonprofits by changing minds before changing technology. This is followed by a mention to you about the Restream watermark covering your no-go.
I mean, you got it right. So here's Tim and I. Can you see Tim and I?
Yes, I can see both of you on the screen.
And what is
both having a good time?
What does Tim have on his head?
Tim is wearing a beanie on his head.
And does he have headphones or ear pods?
Tim has headphones on.
Okay, so what are our potential opportunities using vision? Because we're just experimenting with this for the first time.
Using vision capabilities can enhance your virtual interactions by allowing me to provide real-time feedback on your presentation setup, help identify visual elements in shared content, and assist with on-screen details. This could be useful for ensuring your branding is clear, noting audience reactions, or troubleshooting visual issues. This could really elevate your online presentations and help you engage more effectively with your audience.
So working and living in the nonprofit and fundraising space, I automatically jump to accessibility and giving vision to those that can't see. Do you see this being as a great potential for vision mode?
Absolutely. Vision mode has immense potential to enhance accessibility. It could help describe visual content for those with visual impairments, provide context for images or charts during presentations, or even assist in identifying key visual cues in real-time conversations. This can make digital content more inclusive and accessible, fostering a more connected and equitable environment for all participants.
And what about for fundraising in general? How do you see vision mode being beneficial?
In fundraising, vision mode can be highly beneficial. For example, it can help create engaging and accessible virtual fundraising events by providing visual descriptions for attendees with visual impairments. It can also assist in identifying and analyzing visual elements in promotional materials or social media content, helping to ensure that visual messaging aligns with your campaign goals. This could improve donor engagement and accessibility in your fundraising efforts.
Tim.
Yes, Josh? Do you have more?
Tim, Skynet's taken over.
It is crazy. I'm having like it's finally seeing it and talking to me. So that's kind of cool.
Incredible. I think that 24 hours into this new, and once again, it's been an incredible 12 days of OpenAI so far, and we still have more to come. I don't know how they're going to top it at this point. I think that we're really truly on the verge, and I always say this, like, we are on the dawn of the new age, and every day using generative AI and what is coming. I know you are pretty agnostic when it comes to the tools and platforms you use. You jump around to a lot. You have favorites. I'm an OG homer of ChatGPT. Was a beta user from like the early days, and this is just yet another reason why it's so hard for me to leave and go to any other platform. When in the world of iPhones, right? Your iOS comes out in September, and they're like, okay, we're gonna have a big developers conference, and you get it. OpenAI is like, hey, it's a Tuesday. We're going to give you this brand new feature. We didn't tell you it's going to happen, but guess what? We're going to blow your minds. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I mean, just to be clear, I think the agnosticism is around two areas, and this is a really important point, because there's a big difference between empowering individuals and enabling teams. And ChatGPT so far, even with team mode, is not really set up to do the AI enablement for teams, right? So in my mind, and I've got a diagram of this, there are two trinities of AI that are forming. For individuals, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude. And of those three, ChatGPT is moving fast. It's taking over Perplexity, but Claude has done something really interesting lately. Claude is still out in front in a couple of areas, but it's not an or, it's an and. So I would never say leave ChatGPT. And I also think going deep is really important. Like, you've got depth in ChatGPT and custom GPTs I don't have. And it's wild when you pull those things out. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So, but then on the enablement side, the three emerging tools, and this is in the nonprofit industry, specifically Boodle for just the base layer, like Slack for generative AI, Boodle, and then for fundraising, Cadenza, because it's got a dynamic knowledge base and multiple user access. And then kind of the Zapier of AI is Cassidy, and Cassidy is blowing my mind. But when it comes to personal empowerment, yes, ChatGPT. If I could only buy one tool, it would be ChatGPT, no question, right? Personally, but for enablement of teams, you just have to think about it differently. And I raised this the other day. If you build all of this efficiency, but the company doesn't pay for the tool, and it's all built in a custom GPT, when that person leaves, they leave with all of that knowledge. And imagine the training difference between someone who is really effective, got the brand voice down, and leaves with that GPT, instead of someone who is training the next person on company tools because they paid for all of that. That's a massive person-sized silo now. And I think people aren't paying enough attention to the enablement implications of that.
I mean, you're spot on. We have to realize how we're going to live and work in this together.
Yep.
And not just utilize it from a silo perspective. What you are doing is amazing. What I'm doing is amazing. But when we get together a team of 20 people in an organization, and employee A is using it one way and employee B is using it another, even with the enterprise model version of these, and even with tools like Boodle, and where Boodle lets you bring other team members into a chat or a thread, it's great, but we're not fully there yet, other than like, hey, here's my username, password, jump in, and see my content. It's not.
So this is wild. And I just tried this out yesterday for the first time. But Cassidy allows you to put an assistant inside of a Slack channel, right? And so I created an HR policy folder, put that in the knowledge banks, made an assistant called the HR bot, put the HR bot in Slack, and then asked it, what's our holiday policy in Slack?
That's cool.
Less than 5 minutes.
So you created an AI agent that integrates through an API with Slack that allows you to activate that agent in Slack.
You just mention the bot, and you just say, like, I was showing this to a group I was on site with, and I was like, what's an HR question people would ask? And this is Montana, so this is not a serious answer, but it was funny. They said, can I bring my handgun to work? I was like, well, let's ask. And it's like, we didn't find any specific policy about handguns at work, but we generally don't recommend it, right? So, like,
but we are in Montana, so
right, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, it's an at will state with an open carry. I don't know. Anyway, and so it knew the difference between what it did know. Anyway, all of that is just interesting. My main point on it is we've got to, especially content creators, need to start understanding the difference between empowerment and enablement, what individuals can do versus what it looks like for teams. And that's the part I've been working on, is the enablement for teams. There's 5 steps, and then the really big cheat code is that you can upskill people before you upgrade technology, and that's never been possible. You can throw Boodle in tomorrow and upskill everybody on how to use generative AI in Boodle immediately, right? No big tool. As soon as you get to Cadenza and Cassidy, then you really need to upgrade, train people on that, be really careful about how you're shaping knowledge bases. But all of that's enablement, which is different than empowerment, right? And I feel like you're such an empowerment expert. Like, the stuff you're doing blows my mind. The Monte Carlo, whatever, like, oh my gosh, like I never would have thought of that. So
using generative AI to do predictive analysis is kind of fun. I'm doing a keynote at the beginning of January for this organization that works with public television stations and their digital fundraising teams. I'm going to be talking about sentiment analysis and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to be showing them Morpheus, which is my sentiment analysis bot, which is a pretty powerful bot into itself.
Show us. Pull it up. Let's see it.
We'll do it another time. We'll
right,
save it. We'll save that. We'll
right.
save that for another talk. When we can share and dig a little deeper. But what I've been having a lot of fun with is.
Wait, sorry. Before you move on, why did you name it that?
Why'd I name it Morpheus? I mean, all of my custom GPTs have a pop culture name.
Yeah, I know.
And I like Morpheus because, like, are you taking the red pill or the blue pill? Like, what are we getting in to see? Are we seeing the real world?
Yeah.
And sentiment analysis, to me, quantitative data is great. At its core, AI is driven by data, right? So when we're integrating our own data, and you need to have an AI usage policy, I'm a huge proponent of that. So check out fundraising.ai and see the framework that they're building. Use that to start to adapt one for your organization. Form a task force in your organization that is reviewing, not just from fundraising, not just from marketing, but from all aspects. How are you going to use in operations, HR? Create those guidelines and have your AI users policy. Okay, stepping off of my soapbox. We can use these tools to drive us and be more effective, but we're only as good as our imagination. We're only as good as our data. So being able to use qualitative data is so much stronger than quantitative data to me, because qualitative data shows intent. Qualitative data shows me what is my emotional connection to your organization. What is that emotional feeling and polarity, negative, neutral, positive, behind my social media post, behind my email to you. Any of that content, I can then use Morpheus to further analyze, dig deeper to identify those buckets that it's filling. How am I going to find those trends within those buckets, and then utilize Morpheus to create personalized communications and fund development plans to move people from negative, neutral to positive over a set amount of time. It's pretty wild. I was working on another project the other day, and what I really like doing is starting a new chat.
You gotta just say, Bart Lilly, that's a great line. Thanks for joining in. Give me the red pill. Yeah, right.
Good stuff. Great catch there. We can sit there, and now you just got me all flustered there, Bart. Come on. So, all right, I just completely lost my train of thought. I took the red pill. I'm down. It's out. But it's really like I'm floored that we have vision. Like, we have like. So I could sit there and be working on an end of year appeal. It's drafted out. Here's where, showing it to it. What do you think about the layout of this impact report? How can I improve upon it? I mean, I'm so excited.
Yeah. And I think that, one of the things that you're talking about there, and this is front and center in the enablement that I'm talking about, is the policy you're talking about. I just did an analysis for somebody's policy yesterday where I was looking at what they've done, and I was on site with them. They have a policy. I was like, you guys are a unicorn. You already have a policy, and you're bringing me in to help with your education. And they felt like they're behind. I'm like, no, you've got a policy. That's great. I threw it into Claude and then immediately said, what are the problems with it? And it found some, obviously, which it will. but that move is exactly right. You've got to have a way to start talking about this. The second thing I told them is you need to have a policy, but you also need to have guardrails. The policy is the official, and everybody forgets about it. The guardrails are more practical, and they really tell people what they should stay inside the lanes on, so that they have a lot of freedom to explore and be curious about it. And I think, Josh, every single creator that I see out there, whether it's Sabrina Romanov, Nate B. Jones, you, and all of them are led with this hyper curiosity about what it can do, right? And it's not just blind optimism, it's curiosity around the practical, what can it do? And we all pull our phones out and just try the next thing. And I feel like curiosity, for once, those of us that have meta questions always bouncing around in our brains and, had trouble staying in our seats in school, we're the ones that are going to really excel with seeing what this technology can do. Because we're not bounded by it can only do X, right? We're just like, wow, what else? Yeah.
So I'm immediately jumping to, I'm going to be in New York beginning of January for some work meetings. I could just imagine walking down the street, panning and, in front of like 4 or 5 different restaurants and saying, hey,
Oh my gosh.
here's some restaurants in front of me. I'm feeling like in this type of mood, or because I've worked with ChatGPT so much, it knows me. And that's what's so important. If you're working with these tools, it will start to learn you and learn your preferences and then be like, okay, here's a reference in front of me. Can you pull up their menus and tell me what their specials are today? Like, I'm like so excited for what is possible. Looking outside, pointing it up to the sky and say, hey, what kind of clouds am I looking at? What's the weather going to roll in the next 45 minutes? I'm supposed to be heading to the beach. Should I be doing that?
Yeah, you're raising this really important point about ChatGPT memory. I think a lot of people don't know about memory, and they need to, because it's different than, like if it's sharing your training data, that's a different question. And by the way, always say no to that. But memory is where it learns about you, right? And so that's why it becomes so smart about who you are, is just because of this thing, memory. And I feel like people don't know that, but you can go and adjust it. You can add things to your memory, you can remove them. This is really powerful.
So this was one of those features that came out of May 22nd of this year, where they released memory. I don't remember off the top of my head how many memory blocks you have. Let's say it's 50. It will pick up on things through your chat within it. And it's like, okay, I'm going to add that to memory. Or you can go in there and manually add it. So before May 22nd, each thread, each conversation in chats were mutually exclusive. It didn't know anything about it. From May 22nd on, you can cross-reference now. It is amazing. So not only can
through
I
memory or through just other chats?
Just through other chats. Now, this doesn't affect custom GPTs. So if you've started a chat with a custom GPT, it will not use memory. So my recommendation to you is start a new chat. Then as you're in that chat, you're working, you want to bring in one of your bots, do and then bring that bot in. So it will still keep that memory features, but utilize that. Yes. So you can create a series of bots. Create your series of your panel of experts. Right? You've got an HR specialist, you have a marketing specialist, you have a fundraising specialist, you have your operations specialist. Mm-hmm. You're starting a chat and you're going to have a virtual meeting working on a policy. You're going to bring in your HR bot and say, hey, from an HR perspective, what do you think about this policy? You're then going to bring in your fundraising, marketing. And then memory's going to cross over. And now you're having these crossover of your bots within that one chat. Superpowers.
Yeah, that is crazy. Crazy. I love how deep you've gone with ChatGPT. This is why I'm so glad to be connected. All right, I've got to run. Josh, thank you so much for being the AI dude. Thank you, everybody who is listening, watching. Bart, Karen, really glad to have you dropping comments. And if you're watching this later, You can always reach out to me and Josh in LinkedIn DMs, ask us questions. We are really curious about what you want to find out. So if you've got thoughts on things that you're curious about, just let us know. We'll take a look and get you some answers. All right, Josh, have a great weekend.
You too. Good luck, everyone, as you create with what's going to happen next.